About 4 years ago, found out that ABC was interested in doing something about LGBT people.
Wow.
And so I went right away and asked them, would you help me research for about a year who these stories could be about? Let's find some news stories. And so I wanted to meet people who were already involved in other movements. I didn't want it to just be about the LGBT movement.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be about people who fought all the way from their childhood until now, and I wanted most of them to still be alive. Because I wanted young people at the end of the day to believe these stories are true, this kind of progress is possible, and you can be out and you can fight for equality and you can live and thrive. Because too many, and I'm guilty of this myself, at the end of a civil rights series, the protagonist is gone, is dead, and I didn't want that to be the case. So it was about a year of researching before I found the stories of Cleve Jones and Roma Guy and Ken Jones. So it's not at all just about Cleve.
Yeah.
In fact, as the series grows, it becomes about more and more civil rights activists.
Yeah, and so in the series we will see all the steps, the stages of this movement. I mean, it starts 3 years after Stonewall. Why? 1972, that cover of Life was important for raising the consciousness of gay people or female or...
You know what it was? It was universally when I was interviewing people who are now in their early 60s. They said the first time they ever saw the word gay liberation in print, and it was a positive thing, was on the cover of that Life magazine. And almost every single person remembers seeing it for the very first time. And I thought, ooh, that's a good way to start. That's something universal that can bring together women and men and racial minorities who are all in the LGBT movement and all would be looking at this very first positive portrayal of their movement in a major publication. So I thought that's a good place to start.
Yeah. Did the Oscar help you in put these stories out? Because I didn't think that networks were so keen to tell a real story about gay movement.
Yeah, you know, I think the Oscar helped me more than anything be able to take a stage and to speak for my people. Probably more than anything that helped in the marriage equality fight. I can't take the credit for this by myself. This was Pauly and Channing Dungey at ABC Network saying, we're interested in doing something in this space. And I think they understand that this is the movement of this generation, one of the movements of this generation. Certainly a generation that's interested in equality for all, even beyond LGBT people. And they were brave enough to say, let's bring this story, the stories of LGBT families, to the American families and to the world's families. So I have to give some credit to them. And then we worked in collaboration to figure out what those stories were. I think the truth of the matter is everybody nowadays, no matter where you live, knows an LGBT person. And so to not tell these stories is to ignore reality. And if you ignore reality long enough, your network is going to go away because it doesn't seem authentic. So I actually think it's very wise for any network to include the stories of LGBT people, because what they're doing is showing young people and people today, hey, this is a reflection of your world. And here's a part of that world you might not know. And I think there's curiosity there, and I think it also rings true. So it is daring on one hand, and on the other hand, it's just smart.
Yeah, it's true. But do you think there's also a need to tell this story right now, because we're living in such bleak times, and so to reassert these things, I mean, at the festival there's also the reboot of Roots. It seems like we need to tell the story for young people, new generations.
I think so. I think so. Right now we are in a time which I would call a backlash. And you see this portrayed several times in When We Rise. It happens. At times where people start talking more about building walls between each other, closing borders. And what a show like this does is shows the power of saying we. Not the power of me, but the power of we. And we understand how we are stronger together. Not by getting rid of our differences, but understanding the value of collaboration with differences. And that's what When We Rise is about. And I think it is a lesson to how to fight back against backlash, and a lesson of how to gain more power by coming together.
Yeah. Just one last question. Your second collaboration with Gus Van Sant.
Yeah.
How do you work together?
Gus and I worked together very closely. He's one of my best friends. He was the first person I went to once we had the scripts finished. So after about 2.5 years of work, I brought him the first 2 hours and said, would you direct these? He went away, read them, I think called me within 24 hours and said, yes, let's make this. And it's, you know, he and I sit next to each other the entire time. We did on Milk, and it worked out really well. We did it again, and it was a beautiful experience on the set, and I think it shows. I hope it shows in terms of authenticity, and I hope people feel the collaboration.
And was it there for you when you directed the two episodes, or you were alone?
No, he was not there then. But I called him, and then I would send him the edits. But I've done this with other projects along the way too. I'll send them to Gus, and he'll look at them and give me notes, or he'll send me a script he's interested in directing, and I'll read them and give my thoughts. But that's how creative people are. You know, we like to share things like that. But he was not on set then.
Okay.
I wish he was, because it would have been a fun time.